What's up everybody, Subaru fan here for another weekly update. So, not much new with the Mustang here. I'm at 2,739 miles, been driving it a lot recently, and yeah, the only thing that I can say is that I continue, as every week goes by, my desire for an exhaust system grows and grows. So, pretty set on getting the Borla touring system, but I think what I'm going to do is just wait until one pops up used on the forums or something maybe, and get something then. The only drawback with getting an exhaust with the 2015 and up Mustangs is that the whole exhaust is one piece, like the catback from the factory. There aren't any disconnect points. It's literally just like one super long piece of pipe, and so because of that, it's just like really annoying to try and get rid of the old exhaust, because you either have to cut it up, which means it's all messy whenever you put it back together, or just try and find some way to get a pickup truck or something to haul this super long piece of metal, and then storing it is also another question, all that kind of stuff. So I just have to work out a few things with that, and like I said, I'm going to probably wait until a used one pops up on the forums there for a Borla touring system. I still would like to hear a Borla touring, but to give you guys a little bit of reference as to how mild I want my exhaust to be, I did have a chance to hear the MBRP street exhaust in person, and the street version was way too loud for me. So that is, so some of you I think have that and mentioned that in the comments that you own that exhaust. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a gauge as to how quiet I want it to be. I really like the current sound. I just want a little bit more out of the back, I think, and then that would be great. So just going to continue to look around. I know a lot of people were suggesting the Corsa Extreme, which is way too loud. Even if it doesn't drone, I don't want something that also wakes up the neighbors, so that's why I want to go with something milder as well. I want something that doesn't have any drone for sure, which is why I'm interested in the Borla or the Corsa. Corsa doesn't really do too many of the tamer exhausts. I think they have like a sport one or something, so maybe if I heard one of those, I'd be able to decide if that one would also be in the realm of possibilities. But the reason why I love the Borla touring system is because it still has a resonator for one. There's no drone, of course, but also because it has an H pipe, so it sounds a little more muscly. Once you go to the Borla S type, which is far more common, but the S type has an X pipe, and that gives you a little more raspiness, which I'm not opposed. The Borla S type sounds really good, but I just for some reason I like the way the H pipe sounds better. And some people that have suggested a resonator delete in the past, I've heard mixed opinions. Other people have said that it sounds too tinny with just a resonator delete, so I'm not sure if I want to go that route anyway, because then if I don't like the sound, then I'm like, okay, great, now I have a missing link in my exhaust system that I need to put back. And so yeah, like I said, it's still lots to think about. Obviously I welcome your thoughts as always, and if you guys have any personal experience with that, the more opinions I can get, the better. So definitely, if you have any opinions on exhaust, like I said, mild stuff, no Corsa Extreme, no Roushes, all that stuff is way too loud for what I want, unfortunately. So I know it sounds awesome, they do sound amazing, but for something to live with for a daily driver, I just can't do it. So but yeah, anyway, that's it as far as developments on the Mustang here go. So I'll send it back to me at the news desk for this week's news. Right, for this week's news, the first thing is now, 2 weeks ago, the new Toyota Supra was spied for the first time, and it was a really big deal. And now they just got some video of this thing driving around, and it raises a few questions, or answers a few questions about this car's power plant, because when it's first pulling out, and I'll link the video in the upper right-hand corner here for you to check out, but when it's leaving originally, you only hear really what sounds like it's either not having an engine running, and it's running some kind of electrical power, or it's just very, very quiet, one or the other. But anyway, as it pulls out, you can definitely hear what sounds almost like a GTR type sound. I think it sounds really good, whatever it is. All the rumors are saying it's a twin turbo V6 that could be going on under the hood there, although they said there's options. It could possibly also have like some 4-cylinder options, and it could also do some kind of non-hybrid twin turbo V6 version. But what we're seeing here seems to be a hybrid twin turbo V6, probably the top of the line model or whatever that's out testing, and sounds really good from those few quick little shots there, but exciting to see that this car is slowly starting to become a reality, and so very exciting to see that. Next thing that's pretty exciting as well is Lexus has just rolled out their new UX concept. Now, we only have one picture of it that they unveiled, and we still won't see, I guess, all the pictures until closer towards the Paris Motor Show here in early October. But they did show us a picture of the interior, and they gave a little more description on the interior, which is extremely futuristic and has these hologram center console, and it has all kinds of like floating displays and stuff going on. And so these holograms are meant to give a 3D type experience, for the cockpit on the inside. It also has like a removable speaker and stuff. But all this stuff is all very concept-y, dreaming kind of stuff. I don't think any of this is going to make it into the final car, although they will probably make, a UX or some kind of concept or some kind of actual crossover that's going to fit in somewhere in the Lexus lineup that's going to look much like the exterior of this car, just obviously more toned down. But cool to see some of the ideas they have here with the gauges in the right front and center are also like a floating like hologram thing, which is really cool. But yeah, so cool concept nonetheless. For some actual production cars that were unveiled this past week here, Ferrari has just debuted the Ferrari GTC4Lusso T, which, as you might expect, has ditched the V12 engine for a twin-turbo V8, much like the 488, and so it's the twin-turbo 3.9-liter V8, and so in this application, it does 602 horsepower and 560 pound-feet of torque, which is 78 horsepower less than the V12 version, but has 46 pound-feet more. But the real kicker here is the V8 version is only going to be available with rear-wheel drive, which is also pretty crazy. So they're still going to have the all-wheel drive V12 version, thankfully. So this is just an additional offering that should give better fuel economy. And they said it's a little quieter around town with the V8 there and stuff like that. And they say it should also handle better because it's lighter weight now that it doesn't have the V12 or the all-wheel drive. So cool to see that. Another car that was unveiled this past week is Bentley has debuted the new diesel Bentayga, which uses the same engine as the Audi SQ7 TDI. So they're claiming this is the fastest diesel SUV because it has 429 horsepower and 664 pound-feet of torque, and from the triple-charged 4-liter V8 engine. But it's like almost 5,300 pounds, so it's not that fast. 0 to 60 times 4.8 seconds, top speed of 168 miles per hour. But of course, because of all the diesel stuff here in the States especially, we are not getting the Bentayga diesel here in the States. That's only for Europe and other parts of the world. But cool to see that nonetheless. Another car that was unveiled this past week that's pretty crazy is the Mercedes-Maybach Pullman Guard, which is a limousine, kind of version. They've already had, other versions of the Maybach, and the Pullman has been around already. But this Guard version is, as you might have expected, an armored car that has, all kinds of advanced materials and, will stop bullets and bulletproof glass and all that kind of stuff. And then get into too many of the details in regards to the reinforcements or what it can withstand or endure. But it's 40 inches longer than the next longest Mercedes-Maybach. And the crazy thing is this armored car version, it weighs 11,000 pounds. So one heavy sedan there. And so, the standard Pullman Maybach normally runs about $500,000, but this one, being the armored version, of course, is a lot more expensive, $1.56 million. But if you need an armored limousine, I think that you'll be able to afford that most likely. So cool to see that nonetheless. Other Mercedes news is that they unveiled their new E-Class All-Terrain, which it follows, the Audi Allroad and, of course, the Subaru Outback and Volvo Cross Country, crossovers. I guess you can call them crossovers. They're technically, this E-Class, like all the other ones, doesn't bring anything new to the table. It's just the E-Class wagon lifted up an inch with slightly more aggressive body cladding around it. And, it gives off the air of being rugged because for some reason, human beings, at least the average car consumer, sees this and sees an E-Class wagon and says, that wagon looks really boring, but now that it has an extra inch of ground clearance and some body cladding, it's awesome. Let's buy it. And so it works. I mean, Subaru's been doing this stuff for decades now, and it works every time for some reason. And so I think Mercedes is going to just join the crowd. If you can't beat them, join them, right? So there's no confirmation as to whether or not we're going to get that here in the States. But considering how crazy Americans are for these faux crossovers, I think that should probably do very well in the States, and they'll probably bring it here. So interesting to see that. Another car that was unveiled, lots of unveilings this past week. So Mini has unveiled the 2016 John Cooper Works Clubman, which is going to have all-wheel drive here from the Mini all-4 traction system, and it's the torquiest Mini. It has 258 pound-feet of torque, 228 horsepower. Still isn't mind-blowing considering these. I think this Clubman, they said, now weighs 3,500 pounds, so far from being a lightweight Mini. That's not too far away from my Mustang weight, which is kind of bonkers. But anyway, 0 to 60 times 6 seconds. So it's a quick little thing here. And, now with the Clubman having 4 doors and then technically the 2 in the back make it a 6-door vehicle, it should be nice and versatile and whatnot. As far as the pricing for the John Cooper Works Clubman, it's going to start at the standard John Cooper Works starts at around $35,500. So it's probably going to be, pretty expensive, which is kind of mind-blowing considering it's just a Mini. And, there's a lot of other options. I mean, because once you put some options on these things, you're going to be looking at 40 grand probably. And, there's a lot of options for 40 grand. I don't know how many people would go for a Mini, but they're cool looking and different nonetheless. One really awesome thing is Audi this past week just went up a lot of points in all the enthusiasts' minds because they have reintroduced the manual transmission option for the 2017 A4. So 2016, it was a sad announcement that they were only going to be making it available with the 7-speed dual clutch gearbox. And, it was just kind of, the death of the manual is upon us and, so on and so forth. But now they've reintroduced the manual and they've done it specifically for enthusiasts. It's not like it's even available on the base model. It's actually only available on the, only if you get the Quattro all-wheel drive system and only if you get the most powerful engine, the 252 horsepower, 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo. So you can get it with some of the lower trims, but you have to get that fast engine and get the all-wheel drive. So, and they also said in addition to that, they're going to have an available Sport Plus package that's only going to be available on the manual version, and that'll throw in some S4 bits that you normally wouldn't get in even any of the other sporting packages for the automatics. And so that includes a dynamic steering and sport adaptive suspension, which also drops the ride height a tiny bit as well. You also get a flat bottom steering wheel, 18-inch wheels, and you can get some cool, sports seats and a few other trim pieces and whatnot. So, and the greatest thing about this is the manual is a no-cost option. So Audi, I think you're on the right track here. I'm so glad to see that they're back to offering a manual here for the A4. And let's hope they also get back to offering the manual for the S models as well. That would be fantastic. But anyway, very cool to hear that. Some other Audi news, getting into some spy shots here this past week. Audi was spied testing the new S7, which we've seen a few shots of before, but never as clearly as this. And it looks a lot like the Prologue concept that Audi unveiled last year. And, looks like it's going to be pretty good. Nothing wildly different from current Audis, but should, be a nice enhancement there to make the new S7 look nice and sharp. Another car that was spied this past week running around the Nürburgring was the new Jaguar F-Pace SVR, or some type of maybe F-Pace R version. Some people are saying it should be called the Fast Pace, but the F-Pace, whatever. But what they're hearing is that it's going to be a very loud V8 engine, most likely under the hood of this thing. And in typical Jag fashion, they don't waste any time with giving hotter versions of their lineup. So considering this F-Pace shares a lot of its engines with the XF sedan, and the XF, of course, gets the R and stuff like that. I'm sure that is what's being thrown in here is going to be the F-Type R's engine, the 500 or 550 horsepower, one or the other engine, some kind of supercharged V8 that's going to sound fantastic and make this one really, really cool SUV. So cool to see that running around. Another SUV that was spy testing was Faraday Future's new electric crossover. Now, Faraday Future is that mysterious Tesla competitor that supposedly, has all kinds of awesome stuff in the pipeline, but no one's really seen it yet. Well, now we've finally seen something here that looks looks much like a Tesla Model X, honestly. Very rounded, kind of bulbous SUV kind of thing. And yeah, we just got 3 pictures of it here. No details at all about, you know, when we're going to see this thing, or, you know, what it even has going on underneath all the camouflage there. But yeah, it should be something promising, I guess, with all the hype around Faraday Future. I don't know what it's going to end up turning out to be, but cool to see that. Another SUV that was spied this past week running around was Subaru's new Tribeca, or whatever they're going to be calling the Tribeca replacement, which is, you know, the large 3-row SUV that Subaru discontinued back in 2014 after slow sales. And so this one was spied testing alongside a Ford Explorer and a Mazda CX-9, which gives you an idea as to what to expect, you know, as far as what they're going for with this new Subaru crossover. And so, you know, all we can see here, I mean, it's heavily camouflaged, but it looks like it has a very, very similar nose to the Subaru Outback in the front. So kind of think of like a larger Outback as I think kind of what they'll be going for here, most likely. And we don't know much more about it, except it does have dual exhaust tips in the back, which usually with the Legacy and Outback means it has the 3.6R engine, which is the, you know, flat 3.6 liter engine. It usually does around 250 some horsepower. Hopefully will be revised, because that's an really, really old engine, and desperately needs an update. It gets terrible fuel economy and isn't the most efficient. It's a massive engine that does 250 horsepower. So hopefully they will give it some heavily redone internals so that, you know, it's a little more fuel efficient and whatnot. But cool to see that new Tribeca running around. Another vehicle that was spied running around is the new BMW 8 Series, and it was actually just sitting in a parking lot, but they're assuming it's going to be out, you know, testing soon, because it's all camouflaged up here. And, you know, what it looks like is kind of, I mean, in the back end there, it looks similar to an i8, I guess you could say. So maybe, you know, i8 inspired styling, but here for the standard 8 Series, it's supposed to compete against the S-Class. It'll have normal doors most likely, and be a little larger, more luxurious, not quite as low slung as the i8, but still a very attractive looking thing. And we may also see a Grand Coupe version or a convertible, but as far as engines and stuff go, it'll probably be very similarly related to the 7 Series. And so cool to see that running around. Speaking of convertible things, Aston this past week, Aston Martin, they just posted a few pictures of a DB11 convertible, just Volante version. Just, here, we got a few pictures of it. And so they didn't even like tease it. There's no camouflage. It's just, hey, here's a black DB11 with the roof off. And so this confirms, obviously, that we will be getting a DB11 convertible. Everyone was expecting one anyway. But it just says opening spring 2017, or 2018, actually. So you got a little ways to wait here. They're going to be developing it and, you know, refining it, but that's planning on being launched in 2018. It's going to be a long wait, though, considering we're here in the fall of 2016 and that's coming spring of 2018. It's going to be a long wait, but it's going to take them a while. I think they've been sold out of, I think, the DB11 for a while now. It's going to take them a while to even build enough hardtops, so I think people should be able to wait just fine for the convertible. So great to see that officially. Another car that was leaked out this past week was the 2017 Jeep Compass, which it may actually be a 2018 model, but we're hearing that it's going to debut at the LA Auto Show here in a couple of months, so it could actually end up being a 2017 model. And so the Compass here is going to be replacing both the old Compass and the old Patriot. It's going to be based on the same platform as the Renegade and the 500X, and looks pretty good here from the one picture we have. It looks like a baby Grand Cherokee, honestly. I think it's really cool, though, how they painted the A-pillar and the roof line there black to kind of give it a different look, kind of like a Range Rover Evoque kind of deal. And honestly, I think it's a very attractive looking little SUV, and if they price that thing right, that is going to sell like hotcakes, I think. So, yeah, I think Jeep's hot streak isn't going to be ending anytime soon. So cool to see that. Another thing now, Volkswagen this past week said something very bold. They have this new electric concept that they're really excited about, that they're going to be debuting at the Paris Motor Show, that they say it's going to be an electric car for a new era, and they say that it's going to be a revolutionary game changer for the electric car world, I suppose. They said, here, I'm going to read the quote because they're pretty bold. They said that this concept is going to be as revolutionary as the Beetle was 7 decades ago before it evolved into the world's best-selling car of the century. So they're saying that they're going to be making history, that this is going to be as big as the Volkswagen Beetle. So, Volkswagen, take a breath. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it will be as big as the Beetle, but that seems like a far-fetch, especially in this day and age with how popular Volkswagen has been in recent, few months here. I think that might be a little more challenging than the Beetle was to launch, but who knows? But anyway, cool to see that, and hopefully we'll see more. All we have is that one teaser image, so hopefully we'll see more pictures here, pretty soon. Other more normal Volkswagen news is that the Golf R was spied running around with a facelift. Now, there wasn't any camouflage on the back. This is the wagon version, which is only available in Germany, but we'll be getting, the same front-end revisions here for the standard Golf R if they continue to bring it here to the States. So they've heavily camouflaged it. All we can see is it looks like it has some much more aggressive and darker headlights, which look really mean. Otherwise, though, it should have a lot of the same, similar body styling as the current R, but excited to see those changes. There could also be some infotainment changes to the interior and things like that as well, but cool to see that out getting some testing time in. And then the final story this week is that for those of you that were excited about the Grand Tour, which is Clarkson, Hammond, and May's new show that's going to be on Amazon Prime, we now have an official start date. It's going to be airing on November 18th on Amazon Prime for the first episode, and they say the new episodes will be released every Friday for 12 weeks. And there's a little teaser to go along with it, which I'll link to in the upper right hand corner here again. And so exciting to see that. The teaser looks really promising. It looks like, basically Top Gear, the same kind of shenanigans, same kind of great, car stuff, and very, very exciting to see them return soon. So anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So I'll send it back to me in the car. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the news. I'll leave you with a nice little acceleration here like I always do. That sounds so good though. And I even, whenever I was driving around yesterday, and there was someone who was standing outside the car, and they were like, man, that sounds really good. And it does sound really good, I think, from the factory here, even with the stock exhaust from the outside. Just wish there was a tiny bit more noise, but it still is a great sound. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next week. Take care.